us will get back from 3 a.m. Coming?
Yeah.
Good luck with it. You know.
Good afternoon, guys. All right, we good to go? All right. Obviously been a really tough couple of days here with Amir, and man, really I think hard on a lot of people because of how many people he touched, and we were fortunate enough to be here for a year and a half, got hired about the same time, and man, used each other for a year and a half as sounding boards, as colleagues, but became really good friends. One of the most genuine, real people that in our profession that I've been around, and loved our program, was around a lot at a lot of practices, got to know our players. Our players fell in love with him. The energy, the passion, and just the human being that he was. You obviously feel for Ari and those three beautiful kids. I think spending the day Sunday in Atlanta kind of makes you realize the legacy he left, and there was very little conversation on the championships, on the program turnarounds, really even the coaching career, and so many conversations of the people he affected and touched in such a positive way, myself included, our staff included. And you look at Ari and how strong and powerful she is, and everybody felt like they need to be there for the basketball guys, but it was like a reset in a lot of ways for a lot of us. I think when it's somebody your age in your profession, and it hits really close to home. But super grateful for the year and a half. Got to be around him, and I think so much of the reset is, man, the reason why you coach, the reason why we all got into it. And I think it hits you different when you realize somebody's gone, because you really look and you kind of look at that dash in between the years, and you judge it by the people you affected, by the lives you touched, by how you made people feel. And it's as hard as it is, I think, on everybody. The memories I have and the memories we all have are of a strong, powerful man that was an incredible father, incredible husband. You couldn't go 5 minutes conversation without talking about Ari and the kids. And then more importantly than that, how are your kiddos? And our kids go to school together, and it's really, really crazy. So I'm at a little bit of a loss for words, but it's been obviously really hard on his family and friends. And you sit in the gym there Sunday, and you realize how many people really he touched in a packed gym. And I hope at some point, whenever my time comes, I can be talked about half the man that he was and the legacy that he left. So without moving on, big week for us. We're a day ahead. Today was a Wednesday practice, so Tuesday, but it's a Wednesday practice playing Friday night, getting ready for a huge game for a lot of reasons. Biggest one being because it's the next one. And for us, been a couple weeks. It was really, really big for us for this bye week to get a bunch of guys healthy, to kind of reset from a football standpoint, go back to really restudy us. The bye weeks kind of fell really close to each other, so it was a little bit unique. The last bye week, we ended up going from playing on a Friday night to a Saturday in Orlando. So I'm glad we're playing in Boca Friday night. We know we're playing. We know what time. And so that's definitely an advantage. This FAU team, in a lot of ways, has had so many ups and downs, resembles us a little bit in the sense that they're trying to go finish in a really big way. Defensively, they got 10 senior starters. It's a veteran group, top 20 in the country in turnovers. You can see that on the film. Really good pass defense. They've held people from throwing the football at a really high rate. The turnovers happen because guys play really hard. Guys are around the ball. Guys make things happen because they play really hard. Offensively, you guys saw it a year ago here. They do a really good job using tempo. Got a veteran O-line, two really, really good backs, and an athletic quarterback that does a lot with his feet and can create. So I think in a lot of ways, similar to us, have been banged up, played a lot of guys. I think getting guys back from injury, I think the bye week, I would imagine, fell in the right spot for them. From a special team standpoint, again, you saw it a year ago, have created explosives in the return game, executed a surprise onside against us a year ago in the fourth quarter. So really, really excited to go play this one on Friday night. I know our guys are. The physical part in a lot of ways ended today. We got a lot of mental work here these next 2 days before we head down to Boca. And we'll see where we are. But right now as a team, where we sit, I really like our team. I really love our team. They've really come together in so many ways. I think we're continuing to grow. We got a ways to go. Obviously, offensively, as you look at it, we've done some good things, and then we've jacked it up about as many ways as you could at times. So we've got to come together and find a way to be efficient for a whole game. And you don't want to be talking about that week 8 of the season, but we are. And I think it's a big challenge for us as coaches, us as players. Defensively, we've played so many guys. I think that's been a positive for us. Last week we played 17 freshmen or redshirt freshmen as a whole. So we're going to continue to play a bunch of guys. I think the defense has as it's gone, has kind of regrouped, has gotten better. We've got to continue to play really, really hard, continue to create turnovers, and take a step here. As we go into these last 5, we got to go play our best football. And I think that's what we need as a team. I think obviously that's the expectation. And there's still a lot in front of us in terms of growth. So open it up to questions.
Alex, you talked about Coach Amir as your friend, and he's obviously been to practices before. How did that friendship start? And then what did it mean to you to have a friend like that in this athletic department?
Yeah, I think started with the day he got hired and just being able to go over there and say, man, I've got 2 months under my belt, 3 months under my belt. Living in a hotel, so I can't give you much direction on much of anything other than just our plan as we build this from the ground up. He shared his plan to build it from the ground up. I think paralleled in a lot of ways in terms of how we thought of why we both took this job. I think parallel in a lot of ways of what he saw coaching as, the reasons he got into it, the reasons he does what he does, paralleled mine in a lot of ways. Super process driven, super focused on building something sustainable that'll last forever, rather than just trying to whip together a team and see what we can get done. I think his legacy was really important to him. I think his want to build something long-term paralleled mine. You know, and the things we spent so much time talking is this modern day of college sports and how do you handle the portal? How are we handling this NIL piece? How are we handling this revenue share piece moving forward? How are we handling not having success early in the season and then rebounding back? You know, so much time on those types of things, leadership. You know, for me, a lot of the questions I had for him was he literally had just gone through this. 4 years at Kennesaw State, started at the bottom of bottoms and built themselves into a tournament team. Felt like it paralleled in so many ways, and so I would pick his brain. And I can't tell you the amount of conversations at night driving home. Man, here's what happened today. What do you think? To after a loss or a win, like, dude, here's what I saw. Here's what I would do. And he just understand. The one that stands out to me. Last year we were 4 games in, sitting at 2-2 in my first year. Sent me the longest text you could ever imagine of, it's year 1. Here's where you are. Here's where you got to get. And then here's what happens in year 2. Here's what happens in year 3. Here's what happens in year 4. And so just stay the course. Just stay the course. But I think we paralleled so. Obviously, they had an incredible amount of success in year 1. Learned so much to how he got it going and the ups and downs of from roster management to player management. And there was a game. It was Charlotte at home. He sat a guy that had been starting. That was a long conversation of what it took to sit a guy and why and what it said to the team. So again, he had been somebody that's gone through it. He had gone through a year 1. I was going through a year 1. We were going into a year 2. I think really, really similar in so many ways. And as many practices I went over and watched, how he handled those guys behind closed doors when there weren't cameras and people around were fascinating. And so learned a lot.
We talked earlier at MK and Coach Fletcher, obviously, about how the basketball program moves forward and how it's been affected. As you alluded to, it has affected football to some degree, you and your players. What is the effect this week in terms of what you're talking to your players about and how you kind of use that moving into a game?
Yeah, I think he spent so much time with us this spring, and he may be the only person I've ever been around that talks more smack than I do. He spent a lot of time with the DBs. He gravitated towards DBD and that group, and you know, those guys got to know him. He came and spent about an hour and a half with our guys in June, and again, spoke to the team. I just asked them to be real about, man, you spent so much time with us this spring. What'd you see? What do you see as your keys to how you got it turned around? Talk to these guys. And all Amir asked for was no cameras. He's like, I want no cameras, shut the doors, let's go. And it was about as real of an hour and a half as you can imagine. And so the guys feel like they got to know him. You know, we showed our guys the video that our production team put together. It was the 6-minute video of essentially who he is, what he did to help this university. Again, you talk about a guy that united a community, that gave more of himself than he ever took from this place. It's what you want your players to be. It's what you want your coaches to be. And the continual message is always, yeah, great coach, great motivator, like elite husband, elite father, elite human being, which again, for our players, and I know I've talked about it before, I understand we're here to win football games, and that's what I'm judged on. That's what we're judged on. What if I've learned anything, and this is a reset and a reminder of such, when it's all over for us as coaches, when it's all over for really anybody, but maybe my record will be there, but the people I touched, the young men I helped go into the real world and have a career, and guys that turn out to be elite husbands, elite fathers, elite men. It's where I started as a high school coach. That's what I wanted to do because I had coaches that did that for me. And I'm not perfect by any means, but I understand my job ultimately is to win games. It's the last piece I think about when I wake up in the morning. I'm here to help these young guys become elite human beings, and in this society right now, we're missing a lot of it. And if I can help in some small way, put out 40 great dudes that turn out to be great husbands and great fathers and great men, at the end of it, I'll be able to say, man, I'm good. I'm good with what I did. And I know that we're getting deep here, but it's the truth. It's why I got in it. It's why I'm staying in it. It's my favorite part is the one-on-one interaction with these guys to help them grow. And they all come from different places. They all come from different backgrounds. They all have a different foundation of what family looks like, of what a career looks like, of what a father looks like, what a husband looks like. Our job is to, when they leave here, whatever foundation they come in with, that they leave with an elite one. And at the end of the day, that's if there's a reset, that's the reset.
Coach, I'm going to go back to Saturday. Right before halftime, was there any conversation with your staff about trying to field goal?
No, sir.
Just too far?
No, sir. You're talking about the Hail Mary situation at the end? Yeah, too far. Yeah, I thought too far. We had wind in our face, too. I think if we had wind at our back, I may be wrong on this. I want to say we were at the 43. If we had wind at our back, I would have felt okay about it. Wind in our face, I did not.
Coach, very similar game to UAB in terms of the outcome last year. No trouble getting people up for this one either, is it?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
The outcome with UAB last year and FAU, same thing. Not a good game for you guys. You won't have any trouble getting guys up for this one.
Gotcha. You're talking about a season ago,
right,
that we got our butts beat by UAB and FAU back-to-back weeks. Yep. No, we are fully well aware of that. There won't be a hard time getting up. I think year one last year was so unique because those two came after wins, right? And those two came after wins, 2 wins in the conference, and our guys, I truly believe our guys thought, man, we're pretty good, right? And the second you think you're pretty good, what happens? You get proven to not be. And as we learn how to be process-driven in all of this, the end result of whatever happened shouldn't matter, right? But I think our guys are fully well aware of what happened on homecoming here, what happened, just the entire thing. But you shouldn't need that to motivate you to go play a game on Friday night on national TV, right? And I don't think we need it necessarily in that regard, but they all are fully well aware of what happened. Yeah.
Alex, between the hurricane, having to go to Orlando for 7-8 days, all the uncertainty back here, staff and players' families and so forth, and then, of course, the horrible news regarding Amir. This question might be better for later down the road, but for the moment, what have you learned about your team during all this? These are things, of course, you couldn't have possibly planned on.
Yeah, as my wife said 2 nights ago, she's like, man, are you ready for October to be over? I think our team and probably resembles a lot of young people in general. Guys are resilient. I think we as adults maybe sometimes are way less resilient than young people. Young people in general are resilient. I think they've kind of just moved along with the direction you give them, and we've done everything we could to take distractions away, in terms of not letting it affect what happens. Obviously, the Memphis game was so hard in terms of going to a game and not practice for 4 days. Like, you talk about messing around with process, not an excuse. Our job, win the game. It is not. Please don't take it as such. But we're learning that it doesn't matter. You're still going to play the game. You got to go. But I think I've worked so hard to make it process-driven and make these young guys process-driven. When you throw the process off a little bit and throw the rink, or a lot of it in that case, certainly makes it hard. I think this news last week, again, it's real, it's reality, it's life, just like a hurricane and just like anything else. You got to find a way to go and compete at a high level regardless of the circumstance. You can use a lot of different examples in a way different and way less important to real world context. Guy gets hurt, next guy got to go play. That maybe didn't get the same reps. Everybody's dealing with different things. I think for us, it's so important to just not just move forward, but continue to get better and continue to build off of the previous week, the previous month, the previous year. And that's what we're doing. I think in all of it, what you're trying to do is build leaders within the program and continue to force feed guys to lead. And it goes back to my point of they'll kind of follow whatever the direction you give them. At whatever point, the direction's got to come from within the locker room. And in the sense of, man, this is what happened, this is where we're going, this is how we're doing it. Where I set the standard, I set the expectation, but the true culture of it is built within the locker room and then carried out within the locker room. We are not there yet. We're not. We're trying. We're working really hard for that to be the case. But on elite football teams, the standard is held within the locker room. It's upheld within the locker room. We're not there yet. We're just not. And maybe the hardest part of all of it is trying to build leadership and ownership within the locker room. And I think the faster we can get there, the better we'll be, the more consistent we'll be. Probably the hardest thing to do on a football team.
Can you update us on Byram's status?
Yeah. So just for the record, because I know I've been asked, I've never stood up here and said something that isn't true to anybody. I hopefully, like, always as genuine and real, like, as maybe anybody. Byram is practicing and has continued to practice. His deal is simply, when is he going to be healthy enough to truly go? We'll make a decision here, I would imagine tomorrow. Bryce has taken a lot of the 1 reps because you don't know if Byram's truly ready yet. He's moving around well. Byram just relies so much of his game is what he can do with his feet and create. And if he's not totally healthy, or at least close to, I don't know if a quarterback is ever totally healthy as the season goes, but as healthy enough to where he can do what he does, we wouldn't put him out there. So he's continuing to practice, continuing to work through it. Took every rep from behind today, continues to work through it. But we're ready to go either direction with it, same way as Izzy's ready to roll if he has to. But I don't know. We'll know more, I would imagine. By the time we leave Thursday, we'll have a really good idea.
I think the coaching axiom is you don't lose your job to injury. So when Byram is ready, regardless of how Bryce is playing, how do you sort that out?
Yeah, I think we'll cross the bridge when we get there. You hope Bryce makes it really, really hard on you, right? And I think Byram will be the first to tell you that he wasn't operating at an elite clip when he got hurt either. Where I think offensively as a whole, we're continuing to search man, what are the right pieces? And when I say search, I think continuing to try to push to make sure our best 11 are out there all the time, and then that the guys that go in after them are the next best 11. You saw us make a lot of changes a week ago, where a guy like Keyshawn, we talked about it after the game, but a guy like Keyshawn, that was the first week we felt like he was ready to take major snaps. He did. Jaquan Singleton, first time we felt like he was ready to take major snaps. He did. Cole Best, first time we felt like he was ready to take major snaps. He did. And the guys know we're constantly competing. Like, I know it sounds like coach talk a lot. Like, if you don't practice well here on offense, you're not going to play. And the guys are well aware of that. Our coaches are well aware of that. That is the one thing that we are constantly talking about every single day. Man, that dude practiced really well. He's ready to go. Defensively, exactly the same thing. You see Ira Singleton play more and more and more. You see Fred Gaskin play more and more and more. You see James Chenault play more and more and more. Those guys, as they're ready and they practice, if they're practicing better than the guy that's been taking plays in front of them, it's the only way you get better. And the only way you get better is to create competition, because if the guy that he's playing for is not getting better, man, then something's wrong. And what it's doing is it's creating competition. And for the first time since I've been here, at a lot of spots we have competition that's real, that guys are truly, they understand that they're competing at a high level. And you see it all over the place. Like I said, we played 17 freshmen or redshirt freshmen last week. And that is, like, I'm encouraged by that. That's awesome. That's what you want. You want more young guys going. That means older guys don't have to play as much. And that's how you build depth. That's how you, honestly, create a foundation for the future as well.
Speaking of, like, the competition, in the QB room, if we don't see Byron or maybe even Bryce this week, could we possibly see Izzy get some game time?
If you don't see the other two, I would hope, because that would, otherwise it'd be Sean Atkins back there.
Yeah. Is that like a thought in your head though at all right now?
To play Sean at quarterback?
No, Izzy at quarterback at all.
Yeah, Izzy's ready to roll.
Okay.
Yeah, Izzy will be ready to roll if he's got to go. I thought you meant you want to see Sean.
I think maybe one day.
It'd be fun. It'd be fun.
One day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I tried to.
Let's try practice now. All right, all-time receptions leader, Sean Atkins, 157 in county, turned his fourth all-time in career receiving yards. Good question for Sean.
Sean, did you have much engagement with Coach Amir at all?
Yeah, he came to our practice a lot, saw him out of the facility, saw him at the facility. Just a great man overall, just an absolute dog. He's just a really great role model. My thoughts and prayers really go out for his family. I know they're hurting, I can only imagine. But when he steps in the room, he just demands the attention of others. He's just somebody that you just look up to. He has this like aura about him that you just kind of gravitate to. So, that one hurt a lot.
Coach was asked about how the last 2-3 weeks, it's been one thing after another between the Hurricanes and having to move to Orlando for several days, not knowing if you're going to play Memphis, and then, of course, the horrible news with Coach Amir as one of the leaders on the team. How have you helped the group turn the page?
Yeah, you kind of just have to take it one day at a time. We've been through a lot, mentally, physically, whatever the case may be, but all the other teams in the league don't really care about that. When you line up on Friday night this week, they're not going to care about it either. So you kind of just have to go out with that mindset that you got to go out and take it from them. Just because we're going through a lot doesn't mean that, they're going through a lot. So we just have to go out, play our game, kind of stay mentally focused, and just strain. We just got to keep taking it day by day, play by play, and that's how it's going to be.
Rivalries in college football are a big deal. Does this feel like a rivalry to you?
Yeah, I mean, they're only a couple hours away from us. They did what they did last year to us. I feel like that just motivates you, whether it's a rivalry or not. When you lose to somebody last year, you want to go back and beat them this year. So I feel like, in a sense, it is a rivalry just because of that.
Sean, what's the biggest difference between Byron and Archie from a receiving standpoint?
One has a 7-step teeth care routine, and one doesn't. No, I'm just kidding. No, the biggest thing is just, I feel like they both do a great job of just, getting us all going. I feel like I have trust in both of them. The biggest thing is really just I feel like for me, it's just understanding where Bryce wants me. You know, me and Byram have had a lot of connection, a lot of passes completed. So just getting the understanding of where Bryce wants me, what timing, and that's just going to come with more banked reps with him. But there's nothing really like crazy about it.
I know after when film sessions are a little bit looser in that, did they catch you getting lit up on that two-point play? And if they did they kind of tease you a little bit?
Man, I be getting hit all the time after plays. That's nothing new to me. But yeah, we definitely watch it a couple times in slow motion.
You had to run it back, didn't you?
Oh yeah, you know that, and that's just LD messing with me. You know, we have a great relationship. So, but that, yeah, it definitely shows up in film.
So you're saying Bryce has bad run?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Coming from behind in the way that he had to help this offense do a couple weeks ago, what did you see out of him as a quarterback and kind of as a leader on this team going forward?
Honestly, just the confidence he played with. You know, every time we step on the field, he's running over. He's like, "This is our drive. You know, we're just gonna go score. Just do your job." You know, and then he always says to me before the games and stuff, he's like, "You ain't got to be anybody to be special. You know, so you just go out there and play your game." You know, I love Bryce back there. I think the whole team does. And just from last year, I kind of feel like from this last week. It's just his confidence kind of just grew. He's just being more confident back there, getting guys lined up, and just kind of playing with swag now. You know, he's always dancing at practice, so.
It helps when you have a backup come in and the confidence is there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Any questions for Sean?
Thanks,
Thanks,
Appreciate
Sean.
it.
Appreciate it.